Live from the Business Radio X studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, your host, and we are coming to you from the Business Radio X studio inside Renaissance Bank. And folks, if you need help curing the headaches of administrative tasks, bookkeeping, marketing, presentations, if you've got some of those kind of headaches, I would encourage you to engage a smart and reliable office angel. They're not a temp agency or a placement firm. Office Angels matches your business support needs with angels who have the talent and experience necessary to help you maintain and grow your business on an ongoing or as needed basis. Your terms, your timeline, they lend a hand when needed, and they fly off when the job is finished. Find out more at officeangels.us or call Chief Executive Angel S.E. Escobedo, who's fantastic, by the way, 770-442-9246. I've got two great guests that I've been excited ever since we booked them to come on the show. Samantha McElhaney with First Landmark, soon-to-be CenterState Bank, and Bruce Petty with today's Chaplain. But I want to start with Samantha McElhaney, better known as Sam.
Yes.
With First Landmark, CenterState Bank, and there's a story there.
That's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is. We'll be in a few weeks. It will be just CenterState Bank, and it'll be easier for a guy like me to say, right?
Yeah, and we can just go by CenterState.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you, and tell us about CenterState Bank.
Oh, real excited. Thank you, John, for having me.
Sure.
I'm on my 26th year in banking this September.
Wow, you must have started when you're 6 years old or something.
You're so kind.
Yeah.
Actually started in college as a teller, like most bankers, and made a career out of it because I had a choice, either going into teaching or going into the management training program at a wonderful bank in Tennessee called Union Planters Bank. And through acquisition, made my way to Nashville and then here to Atlanta in 2005, and moved from the retail side of banking into the commercial side of banking with SunTrust. Great institution, and career has had me move from SunTrust to a small stop at Fifth Third Bank, and now my home, First Landmark, which will now become CenterState Bank on September 20th. So I'm real excited about my role in the community banking world with CenterState Bank, who is located out of Winter Haven, Florida, but in the center of Florida, center of Georgia, center of Alabama. So we're here to service our customers.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. You're at the center of your customers' lives.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I knew where you were going with that,
Thank
Sam.
you.
So, well, you're like a lot of bankers who started out with a bigger institution and have migrated over time into maybe a better place from your perspective to be able to handle your customer.
Over time, after having been in the larger banking world, I got recruited by a person who I had referred business to over time, my boss, Randy Harris. My career just went in a different direction, and he finally got me over into the community banking world where we can still do the same types of things for clients. I just get to do it at the local level with my credit officers, and we have the same types of products as the bigger banks. It's just truly the decisions are made here locally.
Sure.
I got to say those things when I was in the bigger banking world, but I truly get to emphasize those things and actually show my customers that we actually do those things here in the local market, and those decisions are made in the offices right next door to my office with my credit officers or my treasury partners or the people here locally with me. So it's a pretty exciting event in my career. It feels like a rebirth. So pretty excited.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and there's this magic place in banking, it seems like, that you want to be, if you're a business, you want to be with a bank big enough to handle a lot of your needs as you grow, but not so big that you're going to become a number or have to call an 800 number in wherever out of state, right?
Well, you definitely want an advocate on your team. And so you want to make sure that the person that you're banking with and the team that you're banking with understands your business, understands your story, and understands that there are cycles in your business. So if you're growing, they understand that, and they know not only your history, but they know where you're going future-wise. So just make sure whoever you're banking with can tell your story to the people that are either taking care of you locally, or if you are with a big bank, can tell that story to the people that are in that big banking chair, and just make sure they're advocates for your business and can tell that story. So,
yeah, you're hitting on something I don't think a lot of business owners realize, how important it is that your banker understands what you're up to, and how that banker can advocate for you internally to wherever they need to get approval, because that's the way banks work. You've got to get approval one way or the other, whether it's local or out of state. You've got to get approval for whatever you're asking for, loan or what have you. Having someone that understands your business intimately is really important.
100%, because it's kind of like in a sport.
Yep.
In the sports world, the score may say you won the game, but you really don't know how you actually won the game. Yep. So it's real important that your commercial banker, who's the advocate for your team, understands how you make your money, how you make your product, how you sell your product, and how that money comes in and how you collect it every single day. And if the banker can't tell that story, can't actually explain the ins and outs and who actually works for your team, then you really don't have an advocate working for you. And I would seriously examine that and make some choices so that you have that advocate working for you on a regular basis.
Sure. Now, to that point, so how often should business owners meet with their banker?
It's a great question. You should sit down with your team, the financial team of advisors that you have, and y'all should determine how often you need to meet. You might decide that you need to meet on a quarterly basis, or you might decide as a team that you only need to meet on an annual basis, but that should be a group decision that you make, and you should stick to it. It should be a permanent calendar invite meeting, and you should never break that meeting. You should always meet when y'all decide together how often you should meet, and it should be everybody participating, everybody having questions, everybody bringing their notes to the table, and you going along with that plan, and you all adding to that plan so that your company meets its goals and its expectations and walking out with new goals and new plans. If that's not occurring, if y'all aren't having those meetings, you need to get back to the table and examine the partners that you have on your team.
Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about team. Who should be part of that team? I guess it depends on the business.
Exactly. The field that you're in. If you're in a manufacturing business, you're probably going to have your CPA. You're going to have a business attorney there. Insurance is important. You got to look at the players that are important to you, whereas a professional services team might have someone else involved. Just examine who you want to have and who's important to you. Sometimes you might include a payroll provider, or you might include a merchant services provider. Just sit down at the table and everybody think who might be the 5 or 6 key players that you need to have. And maybe someone invites a new player that can add a service or add some value. But if someone's not adding value, then you need to examine it and realize maybe I need to bring someone else to the team because I'm not getting the service that I'm paying for, and change those players up.
And this is almost like your unofficial board of advisors, right?
Circle.
Sure.
I've had people say circle of trust, circle of advisors that are actually adding that value and helping my team meet its goals or meeting their accomplishments that they're wanting to make.
We're speaking with Sam McElhaney, and Sam is with First Landmark Bank, soon to be CenterState Bank, and we'll just talk about CenterState Bank. I'm just curious how many businesses really, in your experience, have this team, right? Because, so many business owners, part of their problem is delegating or not delegating, right? And maybe not being willing to open up and bring people into that circle.
It's funny you mentioned that, because there was a day earlier this year where everybody was canceling school. Everybody wanted to make sure nobody was on the roads, and we did not have this huge ice storm that everybody predicted, but thank goodness they canceled schools and they made sure everybody was off the roads. But I had one of my clients, we scheduled one of these meetings, and we had it down at Perimeter at the customer's insurance company. And we had all their advisors there. We had the business advisor, the CPA, we had their investment advisor there, the insurance advisor there, and we had all of the information up on the board. The insurance advisor was taking the notes. We were meeting all the clients' expectations. They had a list of everything that they wanted to discuss. And the meeting was a 2-hour meeting going over the customer's objectives and what he wanted to accomplish. His wife was in attendance, his office manager, who, I mean, she is a bulldog. I love this woman. And she just wanted to make sure everything was met, discussed. And we walked out with 3 items that the customer wanted to meet during the 2019 year, or from the people around that table.
Sure.
So these meetings do occur.
Right.
As long as you hold your customer accountable, but your customer holds y'all accountable
right.
as well. So.
It's a mutual thing.
That's right.
For sure. For sure. So talk a little bit, Sam, about businesses that are a good fit for you, the kind of businesses that you typically work with, and some of the needs that you particularly are good at meeting.
Personally, right now, in my role at CenterState Bank, customers who have not met with a banker, they don't know the name of the banker that is supposed to be taking care of their businesses on a regular basis. This most recent referral I received, they could not name the person who has been taking care of their accounts for basically the last 5 years. And they said the name of the bank. And I said, no, the banker who has been helping you and advising you. And they said, we honestly don't know, but I can tell you the bank. I can tell you the teller, but I can't tell you the name of a personal banker who's been helping me. So that right there tells me I need to meet with you. I need to take care of you from a financial standpoint. Yeah. But any manufacturing, distribution, professional service company, that is a great introduction so that I can give them a second opinion on what their business looks like. They can provide me with their statements, and I could actually do what a doctor would do from a personal checkup. I can do on a financial checkup side. But if a customer right now just cannot tell me who's been taking care of them, I need to get an introduction. Let me do the rest.
So you like to talk about providing second opinions, financial second opinions. Okay. So what's involved there?
Well, like I was saying, if you give me deposit statements, everybody thinks a banker needs to do a loan. Not everybody qualifies for a loan. Not everybody needs a loan, but every business needs to deposit their business checks, their cash. So give me statements and let me analyze those statements. And I can either justify and say, you got a great deal, stay where you are. That's what a second opinion can do. Or I can tell them how to tweak a few things and stay where you are and leave me in the background in case anything ever happens. Or let me fix it. You really aren't in the right situation. Why don't you let me take over? Why don't you move? I know it's difficult to move, but I'll hold your hand during the process and I'll take care of things. Move your stuff to me because this isn't where you're supposed to be. You're not in the right product. You're not in the right situation. You're not with the right bank. Let me move things for you and I'll show you how it's done. So there's a lot of scenarios. Just let me give you a second opinion and then it's up to you to make that choice. So that's where I've had a lot of success because I had one client who was over at a competitor bank, and he's being charged almost $400 a month in fees.
Oh, wow. And did not know this.
And basically didn't understand why he was being charged. So instead of going and making the changes at his current bank, he just moved everything to me. So he just needed to understand what was going on.
Right. So, and once, every bank operates a little differently. So talk about what working with you at CenterState Bank is like.
I'd like to say, like my kids would tell you, Mom, your phone is always on. And it's the truth. I pretty much will answer my phone, or answer my email because I believe that your company, because you're a small business owner, doesn't stop. So therefore I shouldn't stop. Even if the bank's closed, I want you to know I'm listening and I'll get you an answer, or I'll get you to the person who can get you an answer. I'm hopefully well connected in the community, so I'll get you somewhere and make you feel comfortable, or at least make you feel better about the situation. So I'm your advocate. I'll fight for you. And as long as you just get me the question, we'll get out there and we'll get some answers. We'll get some connections. So that's what working with me is like.
Sure. Well, and one thing I hear about you, Sam, I've been checking up on you.
Oh,
It's all good. It's all good that you're well networked and you really help your clients in terms of not just inside CenterState Bank, but if they've got needs elsewhere, you help them with that.
One of the funniest stories probably ever was a customer one time complained about the taste of his coffee in his office, and he would not focus on the meeting that we had.
Yeah.
So I had to get his coffee replaced. And so connected him to a coffee supplier and got it all set up so that the next time we could meet, we didn't spend the whole time talking about his coffee.
So he would listen to you during the next meeting.
So we could talk about his company and not his coffee the entire time.
I love it. I love it. Sam McElhaney here to serve, whether it's coffee or banking
That's
services. For those that would like more information, Sam, how do they get in touch with you?
I'm a cell phone person, so if you want to text me or if you want to call me, I'm at 678-524-7133. It's been my cell phone since I moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 2005.
Wonderful.
I know that's scary. I gave out my number, but
Well, that's okay. It sounds like it's working. So, congratulations on your success and all the best. Sam McElhaney, she's with CenterState Bank, based here in Atlanta. I want to turn now to Bruce Petty. Bruce is with today's Chaplain. Bruce, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, John. How are you?
I'm great. I'm
Thanks
great.
for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
So tell everyone a little bit about today's Chaplain and what you're up to there.
Well, I'm a corporate chaplain, but let me begin by saying corporate chaplaincy is really a fruit of a larger life objective that I have. I want to do all the good I can for as long as I can by putting others ahead of myself, by bringing value to the clients that I serve, and by bringing welfare, supporting the welfare of the community in which I live. And I've been caring for others. Actually, John, I'm in my 50th year. It's hard to believe. But
you're another one that started young, right?
Yeah, I started really young. Exactly. Yep. But I get that question all the time. Corporate chaplain is not a form of chaplaincy that is well known, even though it has existed for quite a long time. And it really came on the scene in the middle 80s. And there are some rather large corporate chaplain agencies. The largest in America is out of Dallas, Texas. But I often get the question when I introduce myself to folks, what is that? You know?
Sure.
I've heard people have said to me, Bruce, I've heard the word chaplain, I've heard the word corporate. I've never heard them used in the same sentence, much less in relationship to each other.
Right.
I remember one encounter that I had with a business professional. She was so surprised by what I said that she actually thought corporate chaplaincy was an oxymoron. So I've had a lot of different responses.
Like airline food or something?
Something like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
But to help people get a handle on what is corporate chaplaincy, I help them think about the forms of chaplaincy that they are more familiar with. Military chaplain, hospital chaplain, those are better known for sure. And the people who serve in those kinds of venues are trained specifically for those venues. So the same thing would be true of corporate chaplaincy. We're not trained for military chaplaincy or the other type, but we're trained to offer exceptional care and support in the business world to every kind of organization and company that there may be. And we're trained to do that for the benefit of their employees and in the process make them happier, healthier employees, which has a direct relationship to their bottom line in every company. Yeah,
spiritual and emotional needs don't stop when someone walks in the door of their employer.
No, they don't. When people ask about the rationale behind corporate chaplaincy, I say, well, think about it like this. Life hands us all what is sometimes a challenging syllabus. I think back when I was a freshman at the university and I went through that first week of classes and every professor handed me a syllabus and I thought, oh no, I'm in trouble. I felt overwhelmed. Well, in Metro Atlanta, there are literally thousands of employees who go to work every day with something on their mind or in their heart that actually keeps them from doing as well as they could do at work. There are employees who sometimes will take an hour to write an email because they're having trouble focusing on what they need to do as opposed to what's going on in their head.
Right.
And so a corporate chaplain steps into that space and helps them manage those aspects of their life. A corporate chaplain touches every part of our humanity, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and certainly the relationship side of things. Most of the help that people are seeking have a lot to do with their relationships.
I can see that for sure. Bruce Petty, he's owner and CEO of today's Chaplain. Bruce, you are talk a little bit about your background, because you're a
Sure.
minister, and you spent a lot of time in that side of things.
Yeah, God has given me the strength and the grace to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a pastor for 43 years, and over that 43-year period, I led and grew 6 different churches. My last pastorate was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I served that church for 13 years. And then my wife and I decided we wanted to kind of reinvent ourselves for what I'm calling our encore years. Part of that reinvention was getting closer to family. We have grandkids, and my son lives here and his wife Rachel, 3 of our grandkids. I have a daughter in Houston, her husband Jeffrey, and 2 more of our grandkids. So we had to choose between, we're going to come to the Atlanta area or we're going to go to the Houston area. And we chose the Atlanta area, not because we love one child more than the other, certainly not that case whatsoever, but felt like this would be a better environment for what God has put on my heart to do. But I have 4 decades of caring for others,
Mm-hmm.
and for the last 7 then, corporate chaplaincy. And 4 years ago, formally started my own agency, Today's Chaplain.
And that's part of the appeal, right? If I'm an employer going to trust my emotional welfare with a chaplain, I want somebody that's been there, seen a lot of things, got a lot of experience in being able to deal with emotionally fraught situations.
Yes, that's true. And one of the values of a chaplain is exactly that. All my chaplains, by the way, are trained in experience. Between the 6 of us that are on the team, we have well over 100 years of experience. And that's important because when someone sits down with a chaplain, it's really the trust has to be there, which is built over time as you build relationships. And it's amazing, John. It's just amazing. I'm still surprised by it and humbled by it when they just open up pieces of their life, or sometimes entire chapters that perhaps they've not opened up to anyone else. A chaplain comes into an organization, and that person, man or woman, may be the only caring, confidential, completely objective person that they have to talk to.
Sure.
I find, we live in an area in this part of Forsyth County that has a strong faith community, but there's still a lot of folks who go to those places who don't have access to a pastor, or wouldn't even go because they wouldn't want the pastor to know something.
Right.
Well, they can come to a chaplain because what is said to a chaplain stays with a chaplain.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because part of what you offer is confidentiality from the employer too. I mean, the employer offers this as a service to the employees, and this is not there's a strict confidentiality in the way chaplains like you work.
Yes, otherwise it wouldn't work at all.
That's right.
And that's a conversation that I have with every owner to make sure they understand that that has to be in place. If any employee gets the idea that I'm just there and that I'm going to report to HR or to the executive or something, well, then that relationship just will never happen.
So talk about the benefits to the employer. How does that, I mean, I don't want to be crass and talk about productivity. You talked about people not being able to focus. Certainly that's part of it, I guess, but there's really more to it than just that.
Well, there are. Let me answer it this way. What's the value of a chaplain? Well, let me reframe the question like this: what is the value? These are the things that a chaplain accomplishes over a period of time. Let me explain a little bit about chaplaincy. Something I like to use. Chaplaincy is like fine wine, and the older it gets, the better it is. And a company that has a long relationship with the chaplain gets far better benefits. Then that's when the benefits really began to have impact. So my question would be, what is the value of higher morale? What is the value of having someone on site that is a confident, caring counsel? What is the advantage? What is the value of an employee who has needs that get met in the moment? They don't have to call an 800 number. That's the case in some companies. The usage rate of those kinds of resources are small, 6 to 7%. Whereas if a company has a chaplain that's known, then the usage rate soars to 70 to 80%. I mean, it's quite a difference. So what's the value of that? What's the value of reduced absences? What's the value of greater productivity? What's the value of greater collaboration and cooperation? You almost can't put a price tag on that.
Sure.
And over time, as I was saying, as a chaplain, man or woman chaplain gives themselves to the life of the employees, all of that gets better. There are cases when, and I've experienced some of this myself, when you've been in a relationship with an employee for a period of years, and you've actually been involved in things that save a marriage, bring a child back from the brink, from difficulty, bring them back from the brink of difficulties, emotional difficulties. That's the benefit of it. And that's hard to put a price tag on. The value is off the charts, actually. Sure. I'm biased about this. I know I am.
Of course. Well, and you should be, right? He's Bruce Petty, and he's the owner, CEO of Today's Chaplain. Bruce, you and I had coffee a few weeks ago, and one of the instances you mentioned is you work with a school.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that struck me about that was how you, to your point of being there and people knowing you, about how you simply walk around. And let people know you're there, but you don't really push yourself on anybody, but they know you're there and there's value in that presence.
Yeah, a question I'm often asked is, my team and I make weekly visits, which, by the way, is above industry standard. Typically, if a company has a chaplain, they'll see that chaplain every 7 to 10 days. 2, maybe 3 visits a month. You'll see our chaplains every single week and more if needed. That kind of consistency speaks directly to the quality of care that we want to provide, because the integrity of the relationship is built faster when you have that kind of consistency. And I do. We all walk around. We do. People often ask, well, do you like go to an office and go to a company and just have an office and people come to you? No, not at all. One of my companies is a car dealership. One of my clients is a car dealership. 140 employees. And I walk in the dealership, and I personally serve that one. I walk the dealership, top to bottom, side to side, through and through. I walk through HR. I walk through the sales force. I walk through where they're in their rooms making phone calls, and I walk back in the service center. I walk back to the collision center. I walk back to the detail center. Typically, it takes 3 to 4 hours just to walk through, and I touch base with every employee that I can. I know their names. They know who I am. And because I'm there pretty much the same day every week, they look for me to come on that day. And if I don't make it that day, they tell me that I wasn't there when I was supposed to be. That's what happens over time.
They keep up with you.
They keep up with me. Yeah. They hold me accountable.
Of course. I love it. I love it. So you've got a team of chaplains.
Yes.
You want to talk about them?
I'm really proud of my team. I'll tell you what. Right now the team is 6. They're all trained, educated, experienced. 2 on our team have their doctorates. 3 on our team have their master's degree. Like I said earlier, between all of us, there's over 100 years of experience. But let me just talk for a minute about them. Jeff Hancock is on our team. He just really focuses on our sports, but business chaplaincy as well. In terms of sports, he serves the Atlanta Silverbacks NASL team and the Atlanta United, the MLS team that we're all familiar with.
Is he responsible for that championship last year, or do we have him to thank for that?
I think he prayed it into existence, actually.
Okay. So. I love it. I love it.
This guy, I love all these chaplains. Dr. Philip Hoffman, he's my senior living chaplain. That whole venue is exploding like crazy. And he is trained in experience as a senior living chaplain, especially trained in hospital chaplaincy and bereavement counseling. He brings so much to the plate that is required if you're going to be a chaplain in that venue, and he more than satisfies both the requirements and the experience. And we're in the process right now of moving through a company's budget, so we will begin serving them January the 1st. And I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but it's one of the gold standard senior living centers in right here in the coming area. So we're excited about that. So I'm excited about Dr. Hoffman. Bill Freeman. Bill Freeman is the only non-chaplain on my team, and that's because I want to bring as much value to an organization as I can. And Bill's specialty actually is in conflict resolution. He offers himself conflict resolution service. He's registered as a arbitrator, a business arbitrator and mediator by the state of Georgia, and is certified as a conciliator by the Institute of Christian Conciliation. This guy is really talented in helping people work through conflict one-on-one. He's especially gifted. Relationships can really be damaged by unresolved conflict. He's really gifted at healing those relationships and bringing back together people. This reminds me of, I'm also certified as a conflict coach by the Mediation Training Institute. I have an assessment tool that I can bring to the plate. I've used it several times, help people assess the real cost of unresolved conflict, which is the largest reducible cost that a company can do something about, but often they do not. And you go through the assessment tool, and you learn the average cost of unresolved conflict in the workplace, just not handled well, is $90,000 per conflict, and it can go up.
Wow.
I mean, when you think about somebody gets fired, somebody has to be rehired, you got to go retrain them. You think about the collaboration and the cooperation that is lost. That is expensive. So I want to know, I do coaching, a lot of that in my work as a chaplaincy, but I've got a guy who's really good at it, Dr. Hoffman. So he's on my team. My brother, Jeff Petty. Yeah.
You keep it in the family.
Keep it in the family.
Okay.
He's not as good as I am, but I'm teasing about that.
You must be the older brother. That sounds like an older brother talking.
That is an older brother talking.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, but he's gifted. He lives in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. He's handling a couple of business clients over there.
Gotcha.
But Jeff brings to the plate. He's also has his master's degree in marriage and family counseling, does individual counseling as well. So he walks in as a chaplain and brings a ton to the plate. That, again, just adds value to what he does and who we are at Today's Chaplain. And I'm most excited about my recent chaplain coming on board. His name is Benji Garcia. He's a bilingual chaplain. And so that brings additional value to clients that would have that particular need. So that's my team currently.
You've got a great team, sounds like, Bruce.
I'm adding more to them. I'm looking for some awesome, and they're out there.
Sure.
Chaplains as well. There's a lot of good ones already out there.
Sure. Yeah, and we'll give your contact information here shortly if someone's listening and wants to be in touch with you on that. So talk a little bit about how you work with if I'm a business, I'm interested in this, what are next steps? How does it work? How does the conversation work with you to determine what my needs are?
Well, I have an appointment next week.
Okay.
To talk with an owner that has reached out to me and said, hey, let's have a conversation. So I go in and I just want to hear from them first. Just tell me exactly what your needs are. Typically, when they want me to come by, they have specific needs that exist in their organization. And they just want to ascertain whether or not a chaplain would be of value to them. And so I find out what those things are, and then I'm able to address specifically how, as a chaplain, we can address those specific needs. So that's fundamentally how it works. Obviously, it gives me an opportunity to explain the whole concept. But that's basically how it works, John.
That's great work. From Bruce Petty and his team at Today's Chaplain. Bruce is the owner and CEO. Bruce, for those that would like more information, how do they be in touch with you?
Sure. You can reach me at bruce@todayschaplain.com. You can go on my website, www.todayschaplain.com. And you'll find a complete overview and more bio, more information on the team that supports. Yeah.
That's great. Congratulations on your work and your success, and we look forward to seeing you again.
It's a blessing. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Folks, I want to remind you that you're connected today more than ever. I don't need to remind you that. You already know that. And whether it's your friends or your family or your life, Renaissance understands how you bank, offering the mobile banking services that you need. They also know that sometimes you need to speak to real people with real answers, and that's why Renaissance has more than 190 convenient locations throughout the South ready to serve you. For more information, go to renaissancebank.com That's Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And you can, folks, listen to the show every Tuesday right here on North Fulton Business Radio X.com. And if you miss any of the live shows that we have, we're on all the major podcast platforms. That's Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Overcast, too many to name. But check us out there. You can also follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, North Fulton BRX. So for our guest, Sam McElhaney with CenterState Bank and Bruce Petty with today's Chaplain, I'm John Ray. Join me next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.
Renaissance Rewards Extra is the checking account that checks all the boxes. Roadside assistance? Check. Cell phone insurance? Check. More than 400,000 local shopping discounts? Check. Up to $25 per month in ATM refunds and a great rate? Check. All in an easy-to-use mobile app. To open an account or find out more about Renaissance Rewards Extra Checking, go to renaissancebank.com or visit us at any of our more than 190 locations throughout the South. Renaissance Bank. Understanding you. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.